Welcome to Urban Life Conversations, where we talk about knowing God, finding freedom, discovering our purpose, and making a difference in the world.
Well, hello and welcome to Urban Life Conversations. My name is Warren. I'm one of the hosts here, and this is episode 49. It's been such a great journey for us to take through our Urban Life Conversations as we've been talking about knowing God, finding freedom, discovering purpose, and making a difference. I love that we've spoken about parenting, finance, marriage, life, and purpose. There's been so many things we've discussed over the past year and a half. And we're on a new journey as we've been posting videos to YouTube. So if you have been listening to our podcast just via audio through all of our platforms, that's awesome. Keep subscribing. You can find these podcasts on most platforms where you get podcasts. But we've also added a video element on YouTube. And so I want to encourage you to go and check that out. It's on our Urban Life Church YouTube page. Subscribe. There's tons of great content there, as well as our church live streams for our online experience. And we'd love to invite you into the community and into the story that God is writing through Urban Life. So check that out. And the best way for you to stay connected through Urban Life is to download the Church Center app. So this app is great. It helps you to stay connected, to find small groups, to sign up for baptism or child dedication or courses that we offer for free. All of those things are available through our app called Church Center. The link will be in the description below, and you are welcome to go and check that out and download it so that we can make it easy for you to take your next steps in your walk with God. All that to say, I've got Mike Byrne with me today, and I'm super excited to have you. This has been a long time coming, actually, to have you in the podcast. Are you keeping well?
Yes, it has been a long time. Yes, I'm well, thank you.
That's awesome, man. I remember first meeting you, you did Starting Points. It was like, when was it? It was like before COVID, eh?
Yeah,
like two and a bit years ago.
Almost 3 years ago, yeah.
Hectic, how
almost
time
3
flies.
years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember meeting you there, super outgoing, and you've actually got really cool stories to share as well. So I'm looking forward to our chat today.
Yes, so am I. Thank you very much, Warren, for having me.
Yeah, no worries, man. That's cool. I was thinking earlier about your surname because Mike Byrne, and I kept thinking, I'm like, all I think all the time, maybe it's just me, is I'm like, burn, baby, burn, disco inferno. Do you know that song?
Yeah. Actually,
Do you
the
ever
other
get that?
one.
No.
I'm gonna burn out. Oh my Lord.
Yes.
That Sipa Mabusa Hot Sticks one, yeah. Actually,
good
when
stuff.
people ask me, what's my name, I actually tell them my name is Mike Mlilo, which
Okay.
actually means burn in Zulu.
All right.
Yeah, so I like to introduce myself as Michael Umlilo, not
Umlilo.
Mike Burn. Umlilo, yeah.
Okay,
which
that's
means
awesome,
burn,
man.
Yeah.
That's cool, bro. So catch us up a bit on your journey, man. It's going to be cool to get to know you a little bit better and the things that you do, which are awesome. But more than that, how did you meet Jesus in your walk with him? What was that like?
Well, as you said, my name is Mike Byrne, and actually I'm both a king and a priest. Simply put, I'm a businessman, but I'm also a minister. Business-wise, I actually have my own company, which is an import-export company. I've got an amazing product called Malta Number One. So that's what I do for business. But my real passion is actually my ministry called KCC. And KCC actually stands for Kingdom Consultant Center. That's the name, okay? And a lot of people ask me, but Mike, why KCC? How did you come up with that name, And in the corporate world, the buzzword a couple of years ago when I used to be in the corporate world is, so what do you do? And every second person you meet is a consultant,
Yeah.
And then when God gave me the vision, which goes back over 12 years ago, the word consultant kept on coming up, So KCC, Kingdom Consultant Center. And the vision really at KCC is to turn every child that attends KCC into a consultant for God, because ultimately we are here to serve and to work in the kingdom. As Jesus said, didn't come here to start a new religion, but to serve, not to be served, but to serve others. And that's how I came up with the name.
That's brilliant, bro. That's cool. So take us back a little bit in your journey. Did you grow up in a Christian home? How did you meet Jesus?
Yes, actually, I started off way back. I think it was before I started school. It was between 5 and 6 years of age. And not far from where our house used to be was actually on the East Rand, was a small little church. So I actually grew up in the church. Sunday school was my favorite place. I know most kids don't love going to church, but for me, I couldn't wait for Sunday,
Oh, that's so cool.
I think 2 reasons. One, I used to love suits. I don't like them anymore.
Did you used to suit up for Sunday?
I used to. My mom used to know the shoes is gonna shine, and I've got.
That's awesome.
And I remember very much like the T-shirt you wear, but it was a check jacket that I used to wear. So every Sunday, I used to look forward to going to church. So yeah, that's really where my journey started. And then fast forward to my early teens, when I was moved from Springs to come live with my grandma here in Johannesburg. I met an amazing woman called Auntie Liz. That's what we called her, Elizabeth Roberts. And she was my Sunday school teacher. I was around about 10, 11 then. And she was just an amazing woman. You know, she's the kind of person that went above and beyond for kids. And that's really where my love for Christ, he really schooled me and groomed me and really spoke into my life. I think I can actually accredit the existence of KCC to her because she actually did what I do now, but just on a bigger scale, you know?
Yeah.
Actually, the love or the passion for it came from what she actually instilled in us. Is
Amazing.
that she really made us believe that, you know, that we could do more than what we are, you know, what society told us, you know, because I don't know if you know the colored areas very well, but out in the south is a place called El Dorado Park, and next to El Dorado Park is a place called Kliptown. And it's very much like a rough area, and it's a lot of violence and stuff, you know. And she was always like, Mike, you don't have to end up like your mates over there, you know. Stay in school and always come to church, you know. But that was on Sunday. But also during the week, she used to encourage for us to come to her house. You know?
Oh, wow. Okay. So she opened her home to you guys as well.
Exactly. And whenever it was somebody's birthday, she went the extra mile to buy a little present, you know. And she always had something positive to impart. And I think that's really where the love for KCC started. And I had no idea then that 20 years later, I would give birth to KCC. So KCC is actually Auntie Liz's concept, as it were, to say to kids, you know what? Where you are now is not the purpose and the plan God has for your life, you know?
And what did that mean for you? I mean, so if I look back on my life, there are also, you know, older key people that really took me under their wing and did go the extra mile. So saying like, hey, let's have a meal together, or let's chat, or come over, or those kinds of things. And I look back on that and go, wow, there's actually some really key people that did unlock a lot for me, you know, in my life, that did believe in me, that did have difficult discussions with me, sometimes corrected me where I needed it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes encouraged me. And what did that mean for you in your walk with God and in your purpose? Meeting someone like, it's Auntie Liz, right?
Auntie Liz, yeah. You know, Warren, you're so right, because I was with her for about 4 to 5 years. And obviously when I grew older, you become a teenager, you have, questions,
Yeah.
And as I said, I came to live with my grandmother. So my mom and dad was out of the picture. So I just had my grandmother, and as a teenager, you have questions, especially about girls and stuff like that, you know? So effectively, she was the one that actually guided us,
Wow.
I remember me, Ivan, Eddie, and a few other guys. We were quite a close. And she used to tell us, you know what, when temptations come, this is how you deal with this problem over here, When the enemy comes and he tries and robs you and tells you, do these things. So she was more than just a teacher, So she was really like a guidance counselor, a mother, a father, She's really an amazing person. And even up till today, she's key in my life. So
have you stayed in contact with
still,
her?
yeah, my biological mother passed away.
Okay.
But at my 40th, all my key birthdays, she's always there,
Amazing.
Every birthday. Whenever she introduced me, she's got 3 of her own kids. She would always say, this is Michael, my oldest son, then her daughter, then her son,
Wow.
and then a baby daughter. So even in the family, they all know Michael is Auntie Liz's eldest son.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm actually family over there, yeah. Till this day.
That's incredible. You know, that's, for example, this for me is a beautiful example of the gospel, because there would be no other way that you would kind of get into a relationship with somebody like that, where they would take you under their wing and call you a son, apart from the church. And that's one of the things I love, is that we are such a diverse community of old and young and black and white and different economic backgrounds, but we all get together. And I've got friends that are in their 60s as a 30-year-old, and I look at that and go, this wouldn't happen outside of church community, but we're enjoying loving, incredible friendships where I can ask questions and walk through life because of the gospel. So it's amazing to see that you found family through the gospel in Auntie Liz as well.
Exactly, yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And through my ministry now, that's exactly what has happened now. So it's basically just become an extension. My kids at KCC now refer to me as dad,
Yeah.
I go by a few names. There's too many to mention, but
one of them is Pastor
Mike,
Pastor.
Baby. That's another story altogether. But yeah, so really it's a question of you are just there, and all you do is you just be there for the kids, and you just show them, that you have so much ability in you, and you don't have to be defined by where you come from
Yeah.
and the lack of what you don't have. But
Yeah.
if you really just look at what you do have, God says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you know what I mean? So just understand that, where you are now, it's not where you're going to end up. But you just need to be determined and understand that God will take you through it, even if it's the worst of times, And yeah,
Love
that's
that.
really what I do at KCC.
That's brilliant. So how did it all begin for you? So before getting to the detail of KCC and what you guys do and all that stuff,
Yeah.
for you individually, what happened that you decided, hey, something needs to change, or I want to work with young people? Or did God speak to you? Was there a situation? I know you have Auntie Liz as a backing, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Was there a moment in your life?
Actually, I think my own upbringing, as I've already explained, but the real calling came literally almost like in an audio voice. I remember it was around about 2010 when South Africa was hosting the World Cup.
Yeah.
And I picked up a mate of mine, Wayne, from the airport. He was going to come spend a weekend at my house. And on that way, I was driving past Maibuye. Now, Maibuye is not far from Tembisa. And I heard the voice of God. And he said to me that I will have the biggest ministry in Tembisa. And I immediately, almost literally stopped the guy because I was like, what? And I looked at Wayne and it's like, no, I didn't say anything. Anyway, then I told him what I just heard. And I remember, I'll never forget his words. And he is a pastor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he was about to launch his church actually in Cape Town. And I'll never forget his words. And he says, I'm happy it's you, dude, and not me.
Good luck, bro.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, happy for you, but I'm going to go start my church in Cape Town over there and whatever, And yeah, that was 2010. So that's really when I got the call, And 2 years later, 2012, at that time, I was actually the youth pastor in another church in inner city called New Life Covenant Church. So I've been in the ministry. I've already been through Bible school already, but I never really took the plunge to say, okay, now God, I'm not just going to be a pew woman. I'm actually going to work for you full time,
Yeah.
And then around about 2011, 2012, I was invited to a men's conference down in Durban by the very same pastor, And I went down there and we had a keynote speaker. I don't know if you've heard of a guy called Michael Pitts.
I haven't, no.
Yeah, you should Google him.
Yeah,
Amazing man of God. Anyway, he preached a sermon towards the end of that. It was a whole week, actually. It was the final sermon, the Friday. And I think that's when God really spoke to me. I came back and I said, okay. I went to my local bishop in Midrand. And I told him, I've heard from God and I'm going to do this now, But I wasn't sure how I was going to work full-time in a ministry. So I actually took 40 days, Warren. I don't know what your passion is, but one of mine is food. I love food.
Yeah.
But by that time, the church had booked a cruise. And I've never been on a cruise. And it was like 16 days into my 40-day fast. And, you got all this buffet of food over there. But I must say, I was faithful and I stuck to my guns. And it took me 40 days from that time, to hear from God. So I knew then, okay, I was going to go into the ministry full time, and I just didn't know how and where. So God actually directed me, and He made it clear to me that my ministry was going to be in youth, as He spoke to me in 2010. It was 2 years prior, and took 40 days, like I said, and I knew that that's how where I was going to be positioned, which is to work with the youth. But at the moment, at the time, I didn't have a facility where I was renting a house in Baloo. And through me finding a church for another church, from the UK, a buddy called me up and said, Mike, there's this church, I don't know if you know, called Matthew Shimaloa. He was starting a church here. Another mate of mine phoned me up and said, Mike, please help this pastor to look for premises for them. And I did. And through me looking for premises for his church, and you're going to love this, his church is actually called KICC Church.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he's quite a mega church. He's got branches all over the world. And the estate agent that was working with me actually said to me, I've got this place. And it was amazing how God actually got me to own that property today.
Wow.
So I had no job at that moment. I was renting. God gives me this mission. I have to go through a 40-day fast, and God gives me this 10,000 square meters of land, which is basically half an acre,
Yeah.
and no way of actually paying for it. But I tell you, the estate agent said to me, Mike, this is what the owners want. And I was like, no, God told me to put in this offer. I did. 2 days later, she called me back and says, Mike, I don't know which God you pray to, but I want to pray to that God. Because she said, I've been in the business for over 20 years as an estate agent. She lives somewhere around this area here, Renee, I'll never forget her name. And the owners accepted the offer. And then just to finish off the story, she, obviously, you have to pay transfer duties and lawyers' fees, whatever. I was 100,000 Rand short because the bond I got was a 90% bond. And then again, she came to me, I went back to her and said to her, look, this is a problem. And she said, well, in that case, the deal will fall through. I said, well, I'm going to pray again, which I did. The owners then phoned her a week later and says, Mike, don't believe this. Do you have like a direct line? I'm like, no, there's no direct line. But long story short, the owners knocked the price off by an additional 100,000 by saying, okay, we will pay that 100,000 so Mike could get the 100,000. And that's how I was able to acquire the land where KCC is actually based on right now. An amazing story. Yeah,
I love that. And there's so many things that you touched on there that I think are helpful for people. Is you had a word from God.
Yeah.
There was a process that you followed.
Exactly,
because I think sometimes we get these words and we go, wow, okay, that sounds cool. Now what? And you just sit back and wait for God to do something. But I love that there was an active partnership from your side to go, okay, let me get trained up, Bible school. Let me see what's in my hands. Let me be faithful with that. I'll keep going. And then an intentional moment to stop and say, okay, God, now I'm going to need some detail.
Exactly.
And taking out intentional time to pull that away. Because sometimes I think, and I'll do it as well, say, I'll pray about it. But what I actually mean is I'll think about it for a bit and then leave it. Not actively stop and seek God in that. I love that he spoke to you. And then your obedience to say, well, I don't know how I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
But God, I feel like you're saying this and I'm going to be obedient to you. And I love that. That's, again, story you see all throughout scripture is obey me and I'll provide. I'll make a way. But come on the journey with me. And I love to see that now, years later, you can look back and go, that was definitely God.
Exactly.
But often when you're in that position, it's hard to trust because you don't know what the end of the story is going to look like.
Exactly.
So I think all those things are brilliant. So all of that to say, tell us a bit about what you do with young people and what your weekends look like with KCC, because you've got a Saturday school, you've got some things you do on Sundays at the moment as well. So let's get into some Saturday school stuff. What do you actually do with teenagers?
Okay, so actually the core function that we're focusing on at KCC is really to try and assist youngsters from the local community, as I said, mainly Tembisa, to assist them with maths and English. I'm sure you'll agree with me. When I used to hear the word maths at school, it was like, I immediately was like, So I'm very fortunate that I have a lot of volunteers from PwC that actually comes on a weekend and they assist me, So the main function really, when we started off in 2012, like I said, was really just to upskill their English and reading ability. Because what happened was I used to have church in my garage at home. And while I was teaching, because I'm the kind of guy, when I teach, it's very interactive,
Okay, yeah.
And I get the kids to read scriptures, I make it fun and I ask questions. And I would just throw in, so how many books in the Bible, And they would say, and I would go, okay, if now one of them got it right. It's okay, now, if there's so many in the Old Testament now, you minus 39, what is 39? 66 minus 39. And they go, then I realized they don't know the most basic timetables. They didn't know adding. So from that is actually how the Saturday school was birthed.
Okay.
So
you saw a need within that.
Exactly.
Say, what can I do about this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really how Saturday school was birthed, So really the focus now is Saturdays I do just maths and English. Or like I said, it was in the beginning. But like you said, it's a process, And as we grew over the years, it became pretty apparent that most kids can't swim. A lot of the kids has got a passion for the arts and natural singers, dancers, poetry. They love the spoken word and so on. And I'm very passionate about public speaking and just driving, basic life skills.
Yeah.
So over the years, we've added and added. And I'm happy to say to date, I've got over 10 that I've taught to drive. 3 of them are actually members at Urban Life at the moment now, and Spilela being the main one. He's actually known as the first son of KCC.
Oh, really?
Because he's been there the longest. I mean, I'm going to not embarrass him, but I've got a picture of him when I think he was 7 years old. Not 7, sorry, 9. And he was in his traditional Zulu gear because we had, cultural day.
Okay.
And I always like to we do a slideshow at the end of the year when we have Thanksgiving. And I showed that picture and he goes, oh, master. And then I show what he looks like now.
That's awesome.
But Spilela is now the official driving instructor at KCC.
Oh, cool.
And he's actually, I'm not sure to say this, but he's actually a better swimmer than me now. So I taught him how to swim. He could do backstrokes and flips and like things I can't do, you know? And yeah, there's so many examples that I can use where the kids have now got skills over and above maths and English. I mean, he's matriculated now.
Yeah.
He's intern here by you guys now. And there's a few of them,
That's actually what I want to say quickly is, people might not know that, but some people that came through KCC. So one of the things that you started doing was piling people into your car and bringing them to church on a Sunday, which is really cool. And through that, we got to know guys like Freeman, Spalele, and Duncan, and a bunch of guys. And it's actually really cool to see that they wanted to come and intern here at Urban Life and learn some skills. And the podcast that you are listening to and watching right now is actually majority of it is being done by them. They are recording and doing things and editing videos for us and doing just amazing stuff and blessing us as a church through the investment that's come through there, which is amazing.
True. Now, just quickly, if you don't mind, if you just go back to when you and I first met, one of the questions that was asked, so how did I come to Urban Life? What drew me to Urban Life? What happened? How did I end up here? And I never really told you the whole story. But actually, as I said, so I did church on Sundays at KCC in my garage. And then the Saturday school was birth. But it was about 10 years before that. I've got a lot of friends that lives around this area. And I used to drive past this church here all the time. But I don't want to make it sound, super spiritual, whatever, but it was literally like a magnet. I was drawn to come here. And like I said, for more than 10 years, I used to drive past here. But because I was so busy doing my own thing, I never really came to Urban Life. But 2018, 2019, a meeting was canceled. And I said, you know what? Now I've got the time. It's like almost God canceled the meeting so I could come here.
Yeah.
And for me, it was really just so like, when I came here, it was like, wow, this is the vision and the dream that I have for KCC. And it's almost like, I felt like, I wish I was a teenager so I could come back here again and I could,
Yeah.
And then I decided, you know what? This is what I'm going to do now. So instead of having church at KCC, because Friday was youth, so we had Bible study on a Monday, youth on a Friday, Saturday school, plus I had my business. So I was exhausted,
I can imagine. Yeah,
and I thought, you know what? Why don't I? And that's how I found out about Blaze, and I met Awanga.
Yeah.
And and the rest is history. But really, it was when I got here, it was like, wow, these people. It's almost like, did God give them the same vision He gave me?
Yeah.
I mean, even the normal, the grown-ups that attend at Urban Life are so full of life. They're like, the energy is just, wow. It's like, this is home. So I actually stopped teaching at KCC on a Sunday, and I actually come to Urban Life now on a Sunday.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I want to say as well. I think oftentimes when I've looked at God calling me to purpose or visions for the future or that kind of thing, often we can feel like it's just going to be us. And we've got to make the whole thing happen and do everything and just keep going. And initially that might be the case, as you would have seen with KCC. You did a lot to get going.
I was the driver, I was the usher, I was the chef. I'm still the chef. But God is bringing the right people to come and help. Yeah.
And over time, God adds and calls together. And then you start to realize, wait a second, this is not just my dream or my purpose. Actually, God, this is your story, your purpose. And you are calling multiple people into this story. And then you go, no way, you as well, and you. And okay, so how can we collectively partner together? Because what I love is that together we'll make a greater impact than any one of us would do by ourselves. Doesn't matter how gifted we are, how much resources we have, by ourselves, we still will not have as much of a big impact as we could together. And that's why we need one another. And I love that we can partner together in the body of Christ to do that. And within Urban Life, but also beyond. You're speaking about, you've got this pastor friend and this there and all that stuff. And all of it comes together somehow. God pulls this tapestry together for a beautiful story.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So looking at KCC and everything that you guys have been doing over the past while, so we've got Spalele and Freeman and Duncan, the guys we know, that we go, wow, these are amazing testimonies of what God is doing in them. But maybe tell us one or two stories of life change that you've seen over time. It could be one or two teenagers that you've worked with and were from a certain background or situation where they are now.
Yeah, I've mentioned Spalella now, but I think another example to use is Mikey. He's actually took over from Spalella. When Spalella graduated, Mikey became the new head boy. So
Oh, do you guys have a head boy?
Yeah, so the way
That's
I actually
awesome.
do it, I really try and keep it very much, it's a Saturday school, but I have the basic principles in place and I add on as God leads me. But yeah, so there's a head boy, there's a head girl, there's prefects and whatever, so although it's just for 2-3 hours, but really it's about teaching them leadership
Yeah.
and also teaching them responsibility, because they might not be a leader at school, because at school, I don't know if you know, the average class size these days is between 45 and 60.
Sure.
It is too big. So the teachers don't have, one teacher don't have the ability to get to know Warren and Mike and Spalele and, Sadia or whoever. So at KCC, the classes are very small, okay? So it's really 15, maximum 20, Before COVID, we had over 200 kids.
Wow.
And now with COVID, last year, 2020, 2021, it's between 50 and 60 kids now. So it's a lot more manageable now. But really, the story that I want to share is Mikey's journey. When Mikey started with KCC, he's probably been there 4 or 5 years now. He also matriculated last year.
Okay.
He was a very shy and introverted guy, but really, what we would call, the clever one, the one that's really he's book smart. So his English was right up there already, but he doesn't really need help with maths or English. But he's very shy. So like I said, we have Thanksgiving the first Saturday in December. And that's when the drama came out. So when we started teaching him drama, and through my own network of friends and people, I had youngsters come and teach drama and acting and these things. And we realized Mikey has a gift. He loves being in front of the camera, but he was just shy.
But I love that about
Yeah.
people, is that you wouldn't expect that from people.
We didn't.
You realize there's more.
And
in
we realized,
there,
but he was
actually.
actually born to be in front.
Wow.
But I mean, he's just multi-talented. He can do the back and the front. And Mikey actually ended up being a guest presenter on SABC 2,
Wow.
last year or the year before. And he's actually featured in 2 feature films. It was like 10 episodes, and he's constantly going to episodes. Now people are actually calling him now. And I mean, he took the initiative. So he did some similar podcasts like this and just send them out. And people are actually calling him now. And I tell you, Mikey is an absolute natural, but he didn't even know that was in him until we realized, okay, and we started teaching him. And he would win the award. So every year you have the best English teacher, the English student, maths, and then we give the pastor's award, and then the best actor, the best actress, and then just the general one.
Yeah.
And Mikey would just win all of them. I was like, wow, this boy is just so gifted. So another quick one is Tracy.
Yeah.
Also was an introvert. And again, with her, she just blossomed when it came to, doing poetry. So she loves writing. So she would write her own stuff, but she would never want to read it,
Okay.
Until one of the volunteers took her under her wing and she worked with Tracy. And now Tracy is like, my name is Tracy. And I mean, I'll say a clip with you later on what she did at 2020's Thanksgiving. That was the best poem. She wrote it herself, directed it, and she delivered it like a professional,
Wow.
And she's also, before Spalella, she was a driving instructor. She's a girl, but she was the best driver. So, they say how girls don't learn as fast as boys. Tracy took to driving like a duck to water.
Amazing.
She's an amazing driver, yeah. So the two of them are actually neck and neck when it comes to driving now, yeah.
That's so cool. And I love that. That's very much the story that you see with Jesus and his
Yeah.
disciples. Is I look at those guys and I go, couldn't you have picked better people? Like, honestly, like these guys.
Exactly.
I've actually been watching that series called The Chosen. I don't know if you've seen it, but so it's a series about Jesus and the disciples, and it's really cool to see kind of visually what it could have been like to follow Jesus at the time. But I read about it in Scripture and I look and I'm like, why did you pick these guys? You know, of all people, to start this movement and share your word across the world, like the redemption of the world really through these dudes. It doesn't make sense. But actually, Jesus saw something in them that they didn't see in themselves, and that
Exactly.
others didn't see in them either. It seemed like a band of misfits and rejects and guys that just were too slow and not getting it. But Jesus saw something in them, and he was patient with them. And I look at that and I go, well, God, in my life, actually, I need that, because I'm very slow to get it. I'm very much a work in progress. I'm sure God sometimes goes, again with this, bro. But he sees something in me, and he sees something in us that we don't see in ourselves. And what you're doing there, I love, is you're going, hey, it doesn't matter what people say about you or what you may come across at face value. There's something in you that God has put there. And I want to see that come out. I want to give you an opportunity and a space to do that. I want to encourage you in it, because that's ultimately what we need. We don't know what we're good at if we don't have the space to try and to fail and to be encouraged when we make mistakes and keep going. And that's the Father heart of God. He wants to develop and work with us. He's put gifts and talents in us, and he wants us to use them for his glory and his kingdom.
Absolutely, Warren. I think the only thing to add to what you just said there now is one of the things that I also encourage all my volunteers to do. I always give them a pep talk, like what you do on a Saturday and a Sunday when we come as volunteers here. You show us, that we've got to show love more than anything. And then a lot of these kids never even get a hug from home. As you know, most of the homes in the townships is single parents or teenagers who actually mother she's the mother. She's a teenager, but she's actually the mother of the house.
Yeah.
So we just give them a hug, and you tell kids that they loved, and appreciate that, that somebody tells them that they love you. You know what I mean? And just that hug. So for me on a Saturday, the best part is, when they see me, especially like we're actually reopening this Saturday.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome to come and join this Saturday if you have the time. It's when they see me, it's literally like they've never seen me in their lives. They come running. It's like, I'm going to whoa, you're going to get hurt, and grab them. But they just look forward to that. A simple thing that most people take for granted is a hug.
Yeah.
Just a simple hug. And to tell them, you know what, I'm happy to see you. I love you. And you know what? God loves you, and I love you.
Yeah.
It's really sometimes just as simple as that.
Yeah.
And we don't sometimes grasp that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that's the beauty of the simplicity, yet how powerful your story is going, these are very simple things for people.
Exactly.
People will go like, oh, I need to do this big, vast thing, but go, hey, where are people at? How can I take them on a journey of life skills and upskill them, but just show them love and care.
Yeah.
Be faithful in that. And in that, you start to see, you partner with God in that. And wow, like so much more happens than we ever could dream or imagine. And
True.
so I'm super excited for the future of KCC. And it's been so cool to see some of the fruit that's been coming. And I know that so much more is going to be coming in years to come. But one of the things I wanted to just honor you in before we close is I've been chatting to the guys and just asking some questions, about you and things at KCC. And I just want to honor you, because what I get from them often is just, oh, he's a father. He's a father figure to us. And he really does love us and care for us where other people might look past or that kind of thing. And I want to honor you for that, for seeing people, for showing love, for the way that you believe in people as well, and saying, doesn't matter where you come from or what people have said about you, I believe in you. The way that you give opportunities to people, space for them to find out who God has made them to be and what he could have called them to, and some talents and some gifts, and skill them and prepare them for life. But also more than that, and I think touching on what you said, is that I think oftentimes parents are just not present.
Exactly.
And just being a present, constant presence in people's lives, just to say, I'm here. And whenever you want, I'm here. I just want to honor you for that, because all of this is showing off who God is to us. And we can all be doing that in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So thank you for what you're doing. And thank you for joining us for this conversation. And for you guys as well, I hope that this has been helpful for you, that it's encouraged you and inspired you a little bit more. We're going to be putting some details in the description for KCC if you'd like to find out more and how you can partner with or get involved in that story. But I want to encourage you, God has called you to partner with him in the story that he's writing. And it could be that there are big, massive dreams. Maybe you don't have dreams yet or understand the purpose God has called you to yet. But I want to encourage you, take some intentional time, set it aside, sit down with God and say, Father, what are you calling me to? What story do you see playing out in my life? How can I make an impact in the world around me in some way, shape, or form? And what we'll find is, what if God calls you to do something that will make an impact in this world as you partner with him in changing the world around us for his glory and for people's good? So I want to encourage you to check that out. Again, download our Urban Life Conversation, Urban Life Conversations app, our Church Center app, so that you can stay up to date with all of the Urban Life Conversations podcasts. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you, Adam.
In the
My
world.
pleasure.